welcome to another edition of the Mike Zielinski Show. I'm Mike Zielinski. I'm very honored today to have my guest, Ann Desjardins, who is the Regional Director of the Berks County Lyme Support Group, a region of PA Lyme.
Yep.
And the reason why I had you on, Ann, you have a very compelling story. You fell ill about 6-7 years ago.
Yes.
And the doctors had no clue what was going on with you. And it took them until a year ago to decide or figure out that you had Lyme disease, which is why you've become such an advocate for Lyme, and you're excellent at it. I see what you're doing on LinkedIn with your quick tick tips. And I know I've known you for a little bit. I know you're a nurturer and a caregiver by nature, so you're perfect for the role.
Thank you.
But tell us about why it took so long, especially in Berks County, which is like one of the worst infected areas of Lyme in the state, if not the country.
Yes. Pennsylvania is the highest rate of infection state for 6 years in a row. And I don't think a lot of people really realize that. But I think for me, what initially started as a horrible fatigue accompanied with some slight numbness in my face, I started thinking, well, maybe I'm Googling, maybe I have apnea. So I went and got a sleep study done, and they said, no, you don't have apnea, but I stayed for the next part, which is a five series of naps, or nap series of 5 parts, whatever, 20 minutes apiece. And through that, they told me then I had narcolepsy, which I was like, I don't have narcolepsy. That's not what's wrong with me. I'm just really tired all the time, like ridiculously fatigued. But they put me on a shift sleep disorder stimulant, Provigil, which I went back and I said to the doctor, like, how soon until I feel better? He goes, what do you mean? You should have noticed that right away of putting that in your body that you were better. And I was like, look, I'm not. I'm still really, really tired. I don't know what's going on. Mostly I kept getting told I was too stressed.
This is why you're a general practitioner or a specialist?
So that was at a specialist. That was at a sleep disorder specialist and also a respiratory specialist.
Now, what motivated you to go see that? Did your family doctor recommend that, or?
Well, no. So my dad has apnea. A couple other of my family members do. And when I started to get the fatigue, it was generally in the afternoon. So again, doing a little bit of poking around myself on the internet, which is probably not the best idea.
We all do it, though.
Of course, we're curious by nature. But I decided, well, that was a good starting point. Well, I think initially I got screened for vitamin D deficiency, anemia, thyroid, or diabetes, and I didn't have any of those. So then I was like, all right, well, let's go on to the next thing and see. Well, then after that, since I knew that I didn't have narcolepsy, I stopped taking that too. It was $1,000 a month just for that stimulant. It was crazy, ridiculous, expensive.
Was it covered?
That was with insurance, so yeah. And then I wound up going for allergy testing, thinking maybe I had a food allergy. I was like, okay, maybe I have a gluten allergy or something.
So you were doing this kind of on your own with not any direction from a physician, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you kind of regret that?
No. I mean, I went to see a regular doctor and I was told I was fine. So I knew that's not right. And I knew that there was something very truly wrong with my physical being. So the place that I wound up going to, I know some of the people that work there. And my dad is a retired ER physician from St. Joe's Hospital. So he has connections too. So he knew some of those doctors as well, and I promise, tested me for like everything possible.
Except Lyme.
Correct.
Now, you didn't go on any of them, or including your dad, because we're going to get to the symptoms in a minute, because I want you to share everything about Lyme, but you obviously, as it turned out in retrospect, had some of the classic symptoms. Why didn't any of the physicians suspect that?
I have no idea, and that's sort of a tough question, because I can remember one time, and I don't fault him in any way, shape, or form, but I asked my dad if he sees people in the ER that are so tired like me, because I was desperate, like I was getting desperate.
Knowing how prevalent it is in Berks County.
I was like, Dad, please, don't you see anybody who's this tired all the time? Like, what is going on with me? He's like, sweetie, I don't know. They've tested you for everything. I can't imagine what's going on. And I just looked at him and I said, you know, if this is going to be for the rest of my life, I don't think I'm going to be here for this. I just can't go on like this. This is a horrible place to be. It was very serious.
And you're a very strong, vibrant person. I know you're a super duper salesman at Graphica and whatever, and you've been very involved in the community. And for you to feel that way, it just shows you how devastating this disease is. So tell us a little bit about Lyme, how you get it, what the symptoms are, why early detection and treatment is vital. And you didn't have that in your case, but thank God you're doing very well at the moment, right?
Oh, yes, yes. I feel so much better.
Now, is this something that should continue, or could you relapse?
I guess relapse is always a possibility, but in my heart, I know I'm not going back there. Like, I just know in my being that I am not going back there, no matter what.
Now, tell us about some of the symptoms.
Okay, so, I mean, for me, it's funny, when I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I had every one of those. So I had, again, a really horrible fatigue that I can't even begin to put into words for people. Like, I sometimes would say, if I ran a marathon every day in a month and didn't sleep a single second of that month, I wouldn't be that tired. Like, it's just very hard to conceptualize that.
And you were always fit, right? You used to work out?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I changed my workout through all this, doing whatever I could on my end of the bargain to figure out what was possibly wrong with me. But
did you have a rash or anything? Or?
I didn't get a rash.
And you were not aware of getting a tick bite, but obviously you did.
Right.
Yeah.
Less than 50% of people remember a tick bite or a tick being on them, and less than 50% of people get the rash. So you figure that out too. Like, everyone thinks that they're going to get that bullseye rash. I didn't have the bullseye rash. And secondly, if it happened to have bit me on my head, how am I going to see that bullseye rash? Because I happen to have a lot of hair. So
that's the only good thing about losing your hair. Jeez.
See, there's one positive too.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the difficult part. And I am pretty vigilant anyways. I grew up playing in the woods. My mom always had us spray. She was very concerned about me getting Bell's palsy, which is, half of your face is paralyzed.
I know that, but I didn't know you could get that from being in the woods.
From a tick bite.
Oh, really? One of my sons had that. I had no clue.
Yes. So, I mean, for me, my symptoms, I had the fatigue. I had slight numbness in my face sometimes. So I could tell what kind of a day I was going to be having in the shower in the morning. For whatever reason, that was a trigger for me. I had hives. They told me I was allergic to my own sweat. I had
really?
I had cracking in my neck, and then, I dealt with that for a while. Like, I had a lot of neurological problems. I had a lot of memory issues. Word recall was a problem. I'd stutter a lot.
And you're a salesperson, so this was really impacting your job, right?
Well, I mean, I still did really well. I was a really good salesperson. I just took copious notes, really paid attention to what people were saying to me, and focused that way. And sometimes I think that was sort of what kept me alive, is the fact that I had that job to plug myself into and devote myself to so much.
So when you're focused on the job, you're not really dwelling on it to a degree.
In a sense, like, I had to sell to eat, so therefore I moved, that kind of a thing.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah, it's like either that or I don't have any other options, so I was going to hustle. But, I tried really hard for a long time to go to doctors here, there, and everywhere. Even my dental hygienist was like, what's going on with you? The plaque on your teeth has changed. You should get screened for these things. And I was like, she's like, are you really tired? And I just burst into tears because I was like, finally, somebody's listening to me. I'm so tired. You people have no idea.
So you were diagnosed by your dental hygienist?
She knew something was wrong, like something had changed in my body, but she didn't know exactly what it was. She had encouraged me to continue along my journey of trying to figure it out. And truly, I had been tested for everything, and I just sort of got sick of doctors telling me that it was just the fact that I was too stressed and that I was depressed. And I'm thinking to myself...
Yeah, when they can't find an answer, it's always in your head, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I even went to a therapist. Like, I was like, okay, well, maybe there's something legitimate to this. Maybe there's something wrong with me psychologically, and that's what I need to do.
At least you found out you don't have a screw loose, right?
Right. I didn't say that part, but no, for the most part, of course. But you start to question your sanity through this process, and after so long, I just stopped going to a doctor, and I tried my best to just cope with things myself. I changed my workout, I changed my diet, I started to meditate, I changed my birth control, I changed soaps, I changed anything that was touching my physical being. I mean, by the end, I had done enough research that I'm thinking I had a brain tumor, and that the electromagnetic frequencies were radiating my brain, so I was standing on tinfoil to dissipate those out of my body. Like, I was very desperate by the end.
That's unbelievable.
It's horrible. That's why I've decided to do what I do, because
you were doing anything and everything to be an advocate for yourself, because you were kind of alone in this battle.
Yeah.
Now, what medical professional finally diagnosed you with Lyme?
I'm kind of scared to even say, but I am so grateful, and I told her so many times that she saved my life. But Green Hills Family Medical, Dr. Bonacorsi and her staff, and I'm pretty sure on my initial visit there, because towards the end, my symptoms got way worse. Like I started to lose the hearing in my left ear. I didn't have a lot of physical pain through it, but towards the end, I couldn't put my suitcase up over in the overhead on an airplane. It hurt my elbows so much. I couldn't get a screw to go through a hole. I had a lot of dizziness. So generally speaking, I'll walk my dog, 3-4 miles a day. I couldn't even walk 4 blocks without feeling like I was going to fall over on the sidewalk. And then driving, I'm concerned now that I'm a danger not only to myself, but to other people operating a vehicle. I had 2 heart fluttering episodes. I look back and I journaled like all of my symptoms. I was like, oh man, I forgot about that one. I forgot. There's like so many crazy things that started to happen in my body that I was like, I need help. I can't do this anymore. I told my parents the night before I went to the doctor that I thought, yes, indeed, I had a brain tumor, and that I loved him very much, and that I was going. But truly, I was I was suicidal. I think about my life then, and I was single. I am single. I sit there by myself, no kids, nobody's really dependent on me. So it's like, well, my friends and family will be really sad, but time goes by and people get over these things.
And you're such an upbeat, positive person. For you to feel that way just shows you the devastation.
Yeah.
So thank God you finally were diagnosed and they put you on antibiotics.
Yes.
And when it wasn't too late, because we're talking about 7 years down the road.
Well, that's a lot of, what I have to deal with now is once Lyme is in your body, and there are other tick-borne illnesses that you can get as well, and that's another major thing for people to pay attention to. If you have been bit by a tick, please get screened for co-infections, because if you're treating the Lyme, that's one thing, and okay, maybe you'll feel a little bit better, but if you don't get to those co-infections, your body won't never be able to fully heal in its true capacity.
Co-infections being, just name a few.
Babesia, Bartonella, anaplasmosis.
I don't even know what those things are, but they don't sound nice.
No, they're all different types. There's fungi, there's viruses, there's bacteria, there's tons of different things.
God.
They all require a different treatment. Some require the same antibiotic to kill, but some require some different things.
You could get that in conjunction with the Lyme?
Correct.
Oh, man.
Correct.
So you were on antibiotics, and finally it made you feel better. But you've gone through a lot of serious stuff. I mean, what else? Because it can destroy joints, right? Like arthritis. It has an impact on the heart. You know more than I do. Tell me how devastating Lyme can be for some people and what you personally went through.
It can infiltrate every organ in your body, and therefore it has to be taken more seriously than it is. And if you catch it initially, it's still in your bloodstream, so you can usually get to it quickly with antibiotics. But once it's been in your body for a good period of time, it's a corkscrew-shaped organism that burrows into the white matter of your collagen, your cartilage, your brain, your different organs, and then that's not a very cannot be readily penetrated by oxygen, so therefore it also cannot be penetrated easily by antibiotics. So it's very hard to eradicate it out of your system once it's been in there for a long time. It's really burrowed in, and it's in there for the long haul. So you really have to be like a superhero almost to get it to come out of your body. And I've done so many different things aside of the antibiotics. Like I asked when they gave me the doxycycline, I was so grateful to finally actually just get a name for what was going on in my body. And now I can really put a plan together instead of just throwing darts, and hoping something sticks. Now, okay, fine, I'm gonna really execute something. I started to do a lot of research on my own, but I do tons of things, detoxing, I do Bikram yoga 5 days a week, so I sweat a ton. I've changed my diet again, no gluten, dairy, or sugar. Made some other modifications with that. I take a ton of herbal supplements. The antibiotics for me were what I needed to regain with my immune system the upper hand in this battle. So I remember asking like, okay, well, how long until I feel better with this? Since I had the other stuff that did nothing. And she's like, oh, probably pretty soon. I would say within 24 hours, I started to feel better.
Well, that's amazing.
I sat there and cried. I thank God. I felt like it was, here I am, this living, breathing miracle, and I might actually regain my life. I might get my life back. And that is just an overwhelming sensation to have in your body. It's like, I don't feel good, but I feel normal. Yeah. And just to feel normal was like, wow, this is the best thing ever. I'm so thankful. And I was on antibiotics for 4 months.
Because it takes a while, because I understand some people only go in for a few weeks and that's not enough, right?
Correct.
It can take up to 30 weeks.
Correct.
Not covered in the state of Pennsylvania, by the way.
Well, the antibiotics were, but see, that's another thing. you have to be careful depending on which state. Some states require insurance to cover it, some states don't. And our state of Pennsylvania currently does not. So if you're interested in helping us push this through, I would ask for people to reach out to Senator White. He is sitting on a bill in the Senate right now. It's Senate Bill 100, which would make insurance have to help cover the costs of treatment for Lyme, but also then give the doctors the availability to treat everybody as an individual, because no two people react to this disease the same way. So again, I might have Lyme plus some other co-infections going on, where maybe you just had the Lyme, or maybe you just had one of the other types of things, and everybody's bodies respond differently. I've heard theories in saying that everyone actually has it. It just takes a stressor or some kind of a major event in their life to make it become active. There's really so many different theories as to what is really truly going on here, but doctors are a little bit afraid to treat. They can lose their license for giving antibiotics for too long, which in my mind is crazy. You can go to the dermatologist and get doxycycline for a lifetime if you have bad acne, but you can't get it if you have debilitating symptoms going on that are precluding you from being able to walk.
You know, I think, you know, it's become very challenging for doctors and pharmacies now. Obviously, there's an opiate epidemic for people who abuse them, but for the people who actually need the opiates or the antibiotics, it seems like it's been an overreaction. Those people should not be denied the medicines they need.
Truly. I mean, a doxycycline, a little bit of doxycycline, and I felt like a normal person again.
And you've had some issues with your heart you had to check and everything? Or?
Well, yeah. I mean, so again, for having it in my body for so long before I actually was able to get adequate treatment going on, they really wanted to check. I now go see a Lyme specialist. There are actually doctors that specialize in Lyme. That's another thing, is finding one of those specialists as opposed to just a general physician.
Does your group kind of put their names out for people?
She does, and I refer people. That is part of my mission now in starting the support group, is being able to guide people to the appropriate place.
So once you got so ill and you wanted to reach out and help others, so, and I know you're busy in your day job, but you decided, and I know you put your whole heart and soul in this, because you do almost daily tick tips on LinkedIn. You say it better than I do. But tell us about how devastating it could be if left untreated, and also why is it so prevalent in this area?
Well, it can be fatal. That's part of the thing, is that it can definitely take people's lives. There's a production coming up October 13th through PA Lyme Resource Network to honor 3 young men that actually passed away from it. And it's actually a play about a family who lost their son to Lyme. So that's the thing, is it can be fatal, and people don't quite grasp this.
I didn't realize that.
They don't understand the severity of this disease if it's in particular left unchecked in your body for so long. A lot of the people that lose their life, unfortunately, have gone for years without anybody being able to make a proper diagnosis, or having been misdiagnosed, and then it just takes its toll on their body. They just can't physically keep up with how taxed they are from this illness. People have lost their house. I just talked to a lady, she was calling for help. She's having heart issues, but she can't pay to go to the doctor. Her husband has it. He can't even walk out to the mailbox, so they can't even make their mortgage, like he can't work, so they can't earn income to pay their bills. They lost their house. Oh, wow. I mean, it's to the point where, you know, again, death is the worst case scenario, but I feel very blessed that I could still get up and go to work. That's about all I could do for a good number of years, that I am in good shape. I've had my organs checked since I had my thyroid screen, I had my heart checked. You know, my other organs are all functioning well, and I just chalk that up to being in good shape prior to this happening, maybe good genetics, who knows, good nutrition.
So if you went through all this, that's why for people out there, please, if you have any inkling that you may have this, contact you or a doctor. Where can people reach you?
You can definitely find me on Facebook. Again, my name is Desjardins, and I do have a Facebook page set up through for the Berks County Lyme Support Group. You can also check out my parent organization, which is the PA Lyme Resource Network, palyme.org. If you're looking for a doctor and you might be outside of my area, you can go on there and get a physician referral to a Lyme literate physician.
Well, I commend you for what you're doing with this, because unlike you, where you were basically out on your own for how many years, people don't have to be out on their own now. You can help them at least find out whether they have it or not. Correct. And again, why is it so prevalent in this area? I know climate change and building and more rodents, which give it to the ticks? Or, you know it better than I do, tell us.
Yes. I mean, well, if you look at the globe and people wonder, is this just in the United States? And no, this is a global epidemic, and it's basically around the center part of the globe. They like regions that have different seasons. They like moisture, so we're a great space for them. We're green and rich and leafy, and we also have a lot of moisture, especially lately.
Oh, great.
So that's helping them to survive. But also the climate change is driving this increase, and you can see the line going up higher and higher as to how north these ticks reach now, and how south, I guess, to the southern hemisphere, how much lower they go.
Oh, wow.
But that band is increasing, and that is partly because of the temperature shift, but also the forest defragmentation with all of the residential areas that are being built. A lot of the forests are being stripped down to just little parcels in which the rodents can thrive and survive very adequately.
Because it's rodents and deer, is that right?
Well, so there's a little bit of a misnomer with the deer.
A lot of people blame deer. Yeah.
Everybody thinks it's the deer's fault because of the deer tick, but it's also known as the black-legged tick, and deer are basically just a taxi for the ticks. So they're carrying it from point A to point B. So yeah, you should be worried if you're seeing deer because the ticks are riding along them, but they're not responsible for infecting the tick with the Lyme. It's the small rodents that carry it. And then again, with the defragmentation going on, there's less natural predators available because they have no habitat left. So there's nothing left to eat these little creatures that carry the Lyme prevalently. So when a tick is born, it does not have Lyme. Then it seeks out a first blood meal because it has to change from a larva to a nymph. And as it's going through that, it looks for a blood meal to help its transformation. Usually then it would be on the ground and it's going to feed on one of the small rodents that has the Lyme. And that's where it becomes infected. And then that cycle just begins. And then it winds up getting onto a deer and so on and so forth. And it's really not aiming to get onto people. We're not its intended target. We just happen to come in the crossfire sometimes.
You know, and speaking of that, it used to be, I think, once upon a time, years ago, like you had to really go like hiking in the woods maybe. But now you can just be working in your backyard, which most of us do. I don't actually, well, my mind will change henceforth, but I go out in the yard and I'm doing stuff and I have a lot of stuff and I don't even think about that. But I think I should now.
Yes, and I feel bad. Like one of my friends tells me he goes out with a hoodie tied up tightly around him anymore. He doesn't even go out
Tough
freely.
on a hot day, yeah.
Yeah, but he's so afraid of
You
getting.
probably shouldn't wear shorts. I mean, I wear shorts when it's warm.
You definitely want to wear long pants, tuck them into your socks. You want to wear a hat. You make sure that you're spraying your bug spray, whether it be a herbal type, a natural product, or something with chemical. I don't care as long as you're doing something to prevent them from getting onto your being. You also want to put your clothes directly into the dryer on high heat for a minimum of 10 minutes after coming in from outside to kill that tick because, again, they don't do well with dry heat. Get in the shower within 2 hours of being outdoors as well because that does not allow the tick to have enough time usually to find a place on your body to latch onto.
Really?
Because
Well,
generally speaking, they're going to come from the bottom 3 feet and up because they're usually about that high, you know, and lower, looking for something to cling onto to feed on. So that's generally where it's going to come from. I mean, I can see it coming out of a tree if a bird was carrying it or something. Maybe it falls off the bird onto your head, but usually it'll be from the ground up that you're going to get it. So shower right away. Do daily tick checks if you have kids, grandchildren. You make sure you check them.
Your pets.
Of course,
dogs,
absolutely.
yeah.
Even inside the dog's mouth because they can get in there. If a dog's chewing on a stick or something, then yeah, it might have the possibility of getting that tick in its mouth, and you want to make sure you find it. So.
We have like 3 minutes left. Tell us what else do you want to convey to our audience that's important?
Just be mindful and do your fair share to help each other out with this. It's really hard to find a tick. Again, if it's on my head, if my hair, you know, please just with your family and your loved ones, make sure that you're talking about this, that you're aware of this, that you're treating yourself before you're going outside. You can buy something called permethrin as well, which is an insecticide to spray on your clothing and your shoes. Putting permethrin on your shoes alone gives you 74 times the prevention against having a tick come onto your body in the first place. But yes, anything that's going outside has the possibility of coming into contact with ticks, so just be careful. And if you are feeling funny, go get tested. But if you are going to go so far as to get tested, keep this in mind. They're only looking for 10 types of Lyme out of 100 different strains that they know of in the United States. So if you get a negative, that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have Lyme. That just means that you're not testing positive to one type that the CDC is particularly interested in screening people for. Also, if you feel funny and you have gotten diagnosed with Lyme, make sure that you're getting checked for the co-infections. Keep in mind too, if you do get a bullseye rash on your body, that is a positive confirmation that you have Lyme. You don't need any blood work. Get to a doctor that's going to treat you adequately to make sure that you're getting that before it really has a chance to infiltrate into your body.
You know, the thing that, you know, there's so much, especially as we move into the fall, you hear so much about flu, and flu can be nasty, but, and it can kill maybe older people, whatever, but, you know, that's rare. But it does happen. But there should be equal amount of public awareness announcements or whatever about Lyme,
Yes.
as well as the flu.
Yes, and
there's not anywhere near that level.
there really
it's all
isn't.
funding, I guess, right?
It's a little bit discouraging. Well, that's a positive, actually. So this year, for the first time in Pennsylvania budget, they've allotted $2.5 million, which in my opinion is a very small amount,
Yeah.
but at least it's an amount now that's been earmarked to go towards public prevention for Lyme disease to help raise public awareness, especially in our state. Again, it is the top rate of infection state for the 6th year in a row. So
And that's just because we have a lot of forest, and
you were a very great place for them to survive and thrive.
you should have, because I know at one time you lived in San Diego and LA, you should have stayed there, right?
Yeah, right. But now California, supposedly, what I'm reading, is like the 5th highest state of claims against insurance for Lyme disease. So while all my California friends don't think it's out there, guess what it is? So just be careful wherever you are, anytime that you're outside anywhere. You just want to be thinking about it. I don't want people to be paranoid and terrified to go outside. But
It's kind of like an epidemic, right?
yes,
It almost makes you want to stay indoors.
it does. Or get a bubble suit, you know,
Yeah.
working on that.
I mean, if there's one good thing about the rain this summer, because it rained all the time, it was raining today as we tape, you were inside.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm
Yes.
so grateful that you're feeling better. And thank you so much for being such an advocate with the Lyme Group. And keep up the great work and continue success with Graphica. And stay well.
Yes. We all want to strive for that, for sure.
Okay. And to all our listeners and supporters of BCTV, stay well as well. For now, this is Mike Zielinski saying take care.